Me to do. Well, hello, everyone. It is the strong end of the week. I hope you are doing well and that life is treating you exceptionally this day. Man, what a great day. Just one of those spring days that make you realize how, no matter what the crap is, no matter whether you be up, whether you be down, or whether you be in the middle, you got to admit there are some benefits about being in this reality. Uh, Very interesting. Anyway, how is everyone? How are you? Good to see everyone. Ellen, great Scott, how are you? Robert, hello. David, good afternoon or evening there. Cheesesteak, how are you doing? Al, good to see you, my friend. Hadley, Rebecca, greetings. Richard, hello, my friend. Candy Apple, hello. Lost in Space, how are you doing? Um, Maria Truthseeker, so good to see you. Barry, hello. And Lady Gray Raven, how are you? Good to see you. Cassandra, hello. Joyce, are you serious? Good to see you. Hi, Franny. How are you? You still in Atlanta? 167, good to see you. Miss Newigen, good to see you. I think I saw you earlier in there. Ellen, hello. Misty, good to see you as well. Marcia, Monday Moon, hello. Good to see you as well. Well, I hope you're having a far out day. Sylvia, hello. Emperor Rex, hello. Good to see you. I hope you're having fun. Hey, listen, we're here for, I love how Cat Stevens put it. We're only here for a short time. So enjoy the rhyme and, do the time and we'll look back on it. I often contemplate, folks, I really do. Two things, I don't know. How can you learn something that if you've forgotten? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? But then I have to question, well, I don't remember if I am an internal spirit, then I don't remember, or at least it's blocked, uh, past experiences, past dimensions. Maybe they appear in our dreams. Maybe they appear to us in the fragment and the slivers of our imagination. Hard to say, but something's there. And, but so transference of consciousness. As we continue to study the origins of magic, you really begin to understand thought, idea, as we have been taught, is the cornerstone. And everything from an idea goes out from there. And the infinite being is what I call it. Some people personify it into gods and deities, etc. That's cool. I think in the end, I don't know. I think sometimes we get so wrapped around the proverbial axle that it chokes off some of the oxygen supply to up here. You know, does it really matter, you know, what it is that you actually believe in? Is you're going to believe in something. In the end, you will believe in something. If nothing else, then your experience here. And maybe that's really what it is. Nothing more than believing in the experiences here. Because after all, you and I could meet on the street and I'd have no idea about your experiences. I would have no way to fathom what you experience. Now, we could be in the same, let's say, movement and experience movement, but, as I tell people all the time, who knows if what I see is exactly what you see? Gotta love it. So anyway, let me just invoke favor upon everyone. Listen, yeah, it's an invocation, no different than an incantation. It's the same thing. We've done this. Our species whenever we gathered together, we always seem to have this thing where, invoking blessing, favor, grace on your generation at the moment of your departure was a very big thing in ancient days. And your life was going to be determined as to how that invocation went forward. So I invoke favor upon you. May favor walk with you each day. May favor find you a favorable companion. And may there be an oversupply of prosperity in your life. Lack sucks. All the seeds that you've planted, the good seeds. We all plant tares. That's the problem. We're really good at that. We're really, when you get down to it, we're really good at boomeranging ourselves. But anyway, all those seeds that you've planted, the acts of kindness, the acts of charity, the acts of, courageousness, may those seeds produce, and may they produce a harvest in your life, and may it produce 100-fold return. And may you find complete restoration, your barns and storehouses be filled, nothing missing, nothing broken. Okay. I mean this thing. Let me just show you how much I believe this. This is something that is ingrained into me, much like rock and roll. So dig this. Every word, if you say this to yourself each day, if you were to print this out and literally put it on the mirror when you get up in the morning, when you brush your teeth at the night, put it on your refrigerator, you'll be surprised how much it takes root. So think about this. Every word that goes forth out of my mouth, it shall not return to me void without producing any effect, but it shall accomplish that which I please and purpose, and it shall prosper in the thing for which I sent it forth. Tell you what, you believe this, you've basically taken the accelerated class. What we are reading now, you'll begin to be able to use. Because as we're going to find out in today's study, that words are magic. Words have power, and they're going to be of the power, whether it be to the positive, to the negative. So I'd make this part of your daily thing. I do. It's ingrained in me, as they would say. It's deep in my soul. Hello there, Josh. How are you? Good to see you. Tim, so many people piling in here. Lolly Loving, good to see you. But anyway, I'm convinced that once this takes root in you, and you don't even begin to think about it anymore, it's firmly established, as ancient words would say, that it can literally change your life. You can literally cause manifestation of circumstances. Think about what a circumstance is. It means, by its definition, that it's at a stance, but yet it's circular. So it is going to move. Circumstance. Now, would you or would you not agree with the following statement? That there is an energy that flows in everything. Yeah. We know that. And whether it be positive, whether it be negative, the seventh principle talks about the law of correspondence, the principle of correspondence. Everything has vibration, everything has frequency, everything has poles, everything is mental. So your circumstance could be literally changed and moved by what you say. The problem is most people don't believe their words. They're double-minded. Boy, I'm telling you, you can tell where my roots came from. It always amazed me in my days of studying scripture, where it's so repleted in its statement that the Christ could do nothing because they had so little faith. And then, Mark, which is probably, as I'm beginning to look at the book of Mark, Jeff and I will be talking about this. That's a spell book, but it has deep magic in it. Think about it. If you would say to this mountain, be you removed and cast into the sea, and doubt not in your heart, but believe that those things for which you say shall come to pass, you shall have those things. I didn't say that. The Christ said that. Depending on what you believe or don't believe, that's powerful magic. Would you not agree? But people, they don't believe their words. And let me tell you, your words are they're going to do one of two things. They will die on the vine, or they're of such negative energy that propels forth, it will come back. You reap what you sow. It's one of the principal foundations of living in this reality. Cause and effect. That's another principle of Hermetics. And if you begin to learn how you can become more effective in the causing than having the cause affect you, things begin to change. Far out. But it's true. I have seen the worst of circumstances be changed by nothing more than what you speak. Words carry power, and every magician must know that. You must know that. All right, I got something I want to share here as well. I read this and I said we have to share this with the group here. All right, so this is sapiens.org. Check it out. It's a great place. I found this article and holy crap. The rebirth of placenta rituals. Folks, dig this. A few days after giving birth at her home in Southeast Australia, Emily Burns sat in her yard and watched as her husband and 2-year-old son dug a hole. In her arms, she cradled the sleeping newborn. Beside her was a small container holding her placenta. It was a beautiful October day, 2008. When the hole was big enough, Burns gently laid her still sleeping baby into the soft grass beside her to pick up the container. She walked over to the hole and placed the placenta inside. She then paused, resting her hand on the earth, and silently acknowledged what the placenta had given her. I felt emotional, bestowing the thanks for my beautiful, healthy baby on this organ that has been grown just for that purpose, she recounts. When it was time to plant the peach tree atop the placenta, Burns hesitated, feeling as if she was saying goodbye to something very special that would not return. The trio then packed handfuls of earth in the hole around the tree until it was filled. Finally, she gave her baby a kiss. Now, here's what's really interesting, folks. I did not know any of this, and it's so beautiful. Western civilization is probably in its roots very ignorant, just telling you. Burns' ritual was much more ceremony than is afforded to the placenta in most Western cultures. In countries where the childbirth process is highly medicalized, the placenta is typically whisked away into the incinerator. Recently, however, there has been some pushback. Maternal placentography, a mother's consumption of the placenta after giving birth, has become an increasingly popular practice in wealthy, developed nations. Proponents, including celebrities and social media influencers, insist, based on anecdotal evidence, that it can boost new mom's milk supply and mood levels, even going so far as to say it can fend off postpartum depression. Folks, this is an interesting thing. The placenta is a magical organ. It is a 1-pound frisbee-like mass of tissue that, together with the umbilical cord, brokers the sharing of resources between mother and fetus, maintains the uterine environment, filters out toxins, and disposes of waste. It's the body's only temporary organ, conjured by the embryo and expelled when its job is complete. Blood vessels spread across its surface like the wide, billowing branches of a tree. Wow. Now, that goes on to talk about how these two doctors in the University of Nevada began to look into this, and there was no studies. I never realized how sacred the placenta was in many cultures. They say that it acts as a protector of the child. Alternatively, the tree's health could foreshadow the child's well-being and prosperity. Yeah. It's called the first mother because that's in fact what it is. Without the placenta in this amazing organ, wow, none of us would be here. The placenta is commonly believed to be the child's living relative. Several cultures refer to it as a mother, sibling, or grandmother. Across Americas, the placenta is treated reverently. This professor with Mexican-American studies. For many indigenous cultures, the placenta is a living being. Some other cultures believe in a sort of twinning of child and placenta. In ancient Egypt, the placenta was considered by many to be the child's secret helper. Some Icelandic and Balinese cultures see the placenta as a child's guardian angel. I did not know this. This is what is being done. They actually dry it, the placenta and the umbilical cord, and they crush it up, and then it's taken by the mother in capsule form. I didn't know this. This is just, I think, the most interesting thing. And just one other thing. It's amazing now, the articles that are coming forth. You see, once you put the thought out there, it'll come. Sacred plant healing, the shamanic medicine, and new science. Now, I have no doubt over in our country, the FDA would be more than happy to get rid of this. But isn't that fascinating? I mean, seriously, folks, I did not know this. I mean, so I'm figuring that if I didn't know this, maybe someone else didn't know this. And so I'm sharing this. This is the most amazing. Think about this, folks. I was meditating after that. You can go into deep states of meditation, connecting to the spirits, and they revealed to me that so many souls they came in with the necessary protections. But because of our ignorance, those protections have been stripped. And they affect souls in many different adverse ways. You know, in the West, we've traded, I don't know, we've traded the wisdom for ignorance. You know, I said last night on my radio show, the Steiger Perspective on the Artist First Network, is that when you look at what we are a product of, the Dark Ages, that period of almost 1,000 years wiped out, I dare say, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years of knowledge that was written down. You know, if you study history, you realize very quickly the library at Alexandria, when it was burnt, it was thought it was the single largest repository of man's knowledge. And then with the events that happened in Constantinople, it said that the river there ran black for days because of what the church did in throwing sacred documents, parchments, wood into the river, knowledge that was lost. So, yeah, I think Blazing River, I think that many of them were, we know, you know, the Liber, Lilith, we know for sure. Okay, wanted to share something with you as we get into this. So, new book, Real Magic. Haven't had a chance to go through it, but I did come upon a little morsel that let me share. So this is the entree, all right? Well, I guess maybe it could be an hors d'oeuvre, I don't know. Check this out. Wow. The human brain and body are a superb host for universal consciousness. This living form offers many paths for personal consciousness. To realize it's the same as consciousness, universal consciousness. But there could be countless other ways that consciousness might be expressed, especially in systems that are sufficiently complex for consciousness to become self-reflective. There's no reason, for example, that a suitable constructed robot brain and body could not also host a self-aware form of consciousness. If that turns out to be the case, then it is a good bet that not only will robots eventually make humans redundant, as Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking have warned us, but conscious robots may be also profoundly psychic wizards. Think about this, folks. We best start learning magic. You know, I've contended, would AI begin to seek spirituality? If it's conscious, that's the question. It goes on to say that that's because, in principle, a robot would have much better control over the psychological and brain-orientated factors, like the hyperanalytical critical functions of the frontal lobes that seem to be particularly effective in blocking psychic awareness in humans. Ladies and gentlemen, think about this. And it goes on, but here's the thing. If through certain frequencies, it would hinder the lesser disciplined or aware individuals of having any understanding that they have any psychic abilities at all. We live in an environment where we love watching the spooky shows about, the parlor tricks and, the so-called mediums and oracles, because that's how our society views them, as a joke. A lot of thought has gone in to get us trained into that thinking. And even those who awake and begin to break out of that and begin to explore the alternative Gnostic knowledge, even within that, it's filled with landmines. All right, so let's get on with it. Them bastards, I agree with you, Al, absolutely. So let's talk about something that I think this can help. So this was sent in by a member of the community, and she gave permission to share it. And so if you want this, it is available in PDF form. And let me read this, because this is, well, I think it's spot on. You determine for yourself. So in your notebook, on the first day, get this, and then you sign, this day, I cease believing in visible money as my supply and my support, and I view the world of effect as it truly is, simply as an outpicturing of my former beliefs. I believed in the power of money, therefore I surrendered my God-given power and authority to an objectified belief. I believed in the possibility of lack, thus causing a separation in consciousness from the source of my supply. I believed in mortal man and carnal conditions, and through this faith gave man and conditions power over me. I believed in the mortal illusion created by the collective consciousness of error thoughts, and in so doing, I have limited the unlimited. No more. This day, I renounce my so-called humanhood and claim my divine inheritance as a being of God. This day, I acknowledge God and only God as my substance, my supply, my source, and my support. Now, God can be anything you want. I see God and I see it, and I immediately translate infinite being. Let me continue. Then use an affirmation a day and repeat 3 additional times for a total of 40 days. Memorize and meditate upon each affirmation twice a day. Make notes on any thoughts that come to you. Now, she provided some that I thought was fantastic. So let's go through these. Allow me to have a sip of tea. Cheers to everyone. In whatever favorite beverage it may be. And there's many out there. All right. The infinite being, God, is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all-providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. I suggest that you do this in the mirror. Put it up there and start reading and see yourself actually speaking these words. 2, I lift up my mind and heart to be aware, to understand and to know that the divine presence I am is the source and the substance of all my good. Number 3, I am conscious of the inner presence of my lavish abundance. I am conscious of the constant activity of the mind of infinite prosperity. Therefore, my mind is filled with the light of truth. Boy, I tell you what, something inside of me is like, oh yeah, that one there. See, that one really activates something inside of me. I want to read it again. I am conscious of the inner presence, capital I, capital P, as my lavish, capital A, abundance. I am conscious of the constant activity of the mind, capital M, of infinite prosperity, both capitalized. Therefore, my mind is filled with the light of truth. Far out. Through my consciousness of my God self, the Christ within, as my source, I bring into my mind and feeling nature, the very substance of spirit. This substance is my supply. Thus, my consciousness of the presence of God within me is my supply. Money is not my supply. No person, place, or condition is my supply. My understanding and knowledge of all providing activity of the divine within me is my supply. My consciousness of this truth is unlimited. My inner supply instantly and constantly takes on form, an experience based on my needs and desire. As the principle of supply in action, it is impossible for me to have any needs or unfulfilled desires. Wow. How about that 5? Money is not my supply. No person, place, or condition is my supply. My understanding and knowledge of the all-providing activity of the divine within me is my supply. My consciousness of this truth is unlimited. Wow. Let's go on. Number 7. The divine consciousness that I am is forever expressing its true nature of abundance. This is the responsibility, not mine. My only responsibility is to remain aware of this truth. Therefore, I am totally confident in letting go and letting God, let the infinite being appear as the abundant of all sufficiency in my life and in my affairs. Number 8. My consciousness of the spirit within me as my unlimited source, capital S, is the divine power, these are nouns, to restore the years the locusts have eaten. It makes all things new and places me on the high road to abundant prosperity. This awareness, understanding, and knowledge of spirit appears as every visible form and experience I could possibly desire. Wow, wow, wow. I'm telling you what, man, this stuff is exciting. Number 9, when I am aware of the God self within me as my total fulfillment, I am fulfilled. I am now aware of the truth. I have found the secret of life, the knowledge that the activity of divine abundance is eternally operating in my life. I simply have to be aware of the flow, the radiation of the creativity, which is conscientiously, easily, and effortlessly pouring forth from my divine consciousness. I am now aware. I am now in the flow. Number 10. I keep my mind and my thoughts off this world, and I place my entire focus on the divine presence within as the only cause of my prosperity. I acknowledge the inner presence as the only activity in my financial affairs, as the substance of all things. I place my faith in the principle of abundance in action with me. What do y'all think about that? I ask you. Is that just not fantastic? I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get inundated, but that's fine. Folks, this is the kind of stuff that changes. And when you add what we're about to learn from Franz, I haven't forgotten Franz. Oh, it weaves together so seamlessly, effortlessly into this tapestry, folks, is beautiful. Yes, I do, Al. I absolutely do. I'm glad you brought that up. So let's talk about that. I was a tither. I won't say how much that I have tithed, but that's because it needs not be spoken. But as a tither, I was led into a contract that was one that was in deception. Now, I believe that there is a universal justice to all things. And I believe that that which was stolen, hijacked. You see, that's why I say full restoration now, because I believe in the hundredfold principle of return. And there is an ancient proverb that says, if you catch a thief, then that thief has to pay sevenfold back to you. I've caught the thief, I've named the thief, and I've demanded my sevenfold return. You can do the same. So that's just how it is, folks. I'm serious about this. You know what? There comes a time when we have to be in class, not in recess. This is that time. I hate poverty. I hate lack. It's a curse. And it's a damnable curse in this reality. And if one has to know one's own magic, you have to know how it's done. Whether you want to call it a game, whether you want to call it a challenge, whatever, it's life. And there are spirits, both good and bad. There are spirits that are generous, there are spirits that are greedy, covetous, lustful. I mean, I can go through the whole list. Folks, I know this stuff. One of the things I know is that everything works on a contract. You're here because you agreed to a contract. Now, whether things didn't turn out, well, that's for you. If you're part of a signatorial contract, then you have right to find the clauses. And in this case, if you have been a tither, then you can demand the sevenfold return from the thief. I know this. I'm not flying a Citation 10 or a Gulfstream 7. I certainly paid a shitload of money to help them fly in it. Excuse me. Anyway, let's get on to this. We've got work to be done here. So today we are working with Franz in the initiation into Hermetics. We're going to be talking about a section called Autosuggestion, or the secret of subconsciousness. You ready? Before proceeding, to describe the exercises of the second step, let me explain the secret of the subconscious and its practical consequences. In the same way as normal consciousness has its seat in the soul, I love that, and is activated by the cerebellum in the body, consequently, the cerebellum, I had it right, consequently, the head, subconsciousness is a property of the soul residing in the cerebellum, the back part of the head. With respect to the magical practice, let us deal with the study of the psychological function of the cerebellum, consequently, the subconscious. In each individual that is in his right senses, the normal sphere of consciousness is intact, i.e., he always and at any time is capable of making use of the functions of normal consciousness. It's always determining what normal is. I digress. As it results from our investigations, there is no power in the universe nor in man that does not vary between opposites. Hence, we may consider subconsciousness as the opposite to normal consciousness. That which is normal consciousness, we subsume by the concepts of thinking, feeling, willing, memory, reason, and intellect, is reflected in our subconsciousness in a contrary way. Practically speaking, we can regard our subconsciousness as our opponent. The incentive or the impulse to all that is undesirable, such as our passions, our failures, our weaknesses, originates just in this very sphere of consciousness. Think about that, folks. That's key. To the pupil that now falls the task of introspection to disclose the work of this subconsciousness. According to the key of the elements or the tripolar magnet, this is a satisfactory task inasmuch as the pupil will acquire self-reliance by his own reflection or meditation. Hence, subconsciousness is the incentive of all we do not wish for. Let us learn how to transmute this, so to speak, antagonistic aspect of our ego, so that it is not only does no harm, but on the contrary, will help to realize our desires. Subconsciousness needs time and space in the material world for its realization. Two basic principles valid for all things that have to be transmuted into reality from the casual world. Key on that. So the subconscious has to be trained. It's interesting. You know, those who practice lucid dreaming, dreamscaping, you know, I keep a tablet, you know, near my nightstand. You should as well. I mean, if Franz is saying, which I think is right, that the consciousness resides in the soul, well, we would then have cause and effect. We would have polarity. The subconscious. How many of you have experienced nightmares? I happen to believe that, you know, teaching cell psychology for the years that I did, is that it is a belief system. There is something you have to train. I used to listen to cassette tapes with my headphones. You know, I know that is a way of deep learning. So I happen to believe that this is fact, that, you know, the subconscious does need time and space in the material world. If anything, you can think about it, the subconscious would probably be more uninitiated into the material world, being as much, it's more likely an extension of the ether. I don't know. You look at it for yourself. Withdrawing time and space from the subconscious, the opposite polarity will cease to bring influence to bear upon us, and we shall be able to realize our wishes through the subconscious. This sudden elimination of the subconscious offers the key for the practical use of autosuggestion. If we incalculate in the subconscious the wish of not giving in tomorrow or any other time to any of our passions, say smoking, drinking alcohol, the subconsciousness will have time enough to put some hindrance, directly or indirectly, in our way. In most of these cases, mainly in the presence of feeble or underdeveloped willpower, subconsciousness will nearly always succeed in taking us by surprise or causing failure. On the other hand, if we excluded the concepts of time and space from subconsciousness while impregnating it with a desire, only the positive pole of the subconsciousness will affect us. Normal consciousness being equated and our impregnated desire must have the success we are expecting. This knowledge and the possibilities related to it are the greatest importance for the magical development and have, therefore, to be considered as far as self-suggestion is concerned. I told you the whole thing about the healing crusades, the miracles that were witnessed, recorded. It didn't happen because there was some cat there that had this special anointing. Now, he believed in the healing. He just was thinking it was coming from a different source. All humans can heal. But those who are coming in have never, as Franz says, they've never been trained. But they did have enough faith that, I could go into an Oral Roberts healing crusade, and if I can have the man but lay hands on me, I'm going to get healed. Well, there are countless stories like that in the Gospels. If I could just touch the hem of his garment, the shadow passing over. Now, you could say that, well, that could be potentially psychosomatic, Wayne. Well, I could say that about a lot of things where faith is concerned. What makes one athlete more superior over the other? What makes one individual better at something over the other? I dare say it's probably down to what that inner vision is that individual sees. They've trained their subconscious instead of, sabotaging us, that it actually begins to work for us. And I contend, as Agrippa taught us, our actions are actually the afterthought. The thought is already ahead. You could say, in one sense of the word, it's the future. Our actions are what we would call the present, the now. But no matter how you look at it, it's still behind thought. I continue. The phrasing to choose for autosuggestion must always be expressed in the present or imperative form. You should not say, I shall stop drinking or smoking or whatsoever. The correct form is, I do not smoke, I do not drink, or whatever. I do not like smoking or drinking, and so on, according to whatever you wish to suggest in a positive or negative sense. The key or clue to self-suggestion is to be found in the form of the phrasing. It is that which always and in every respect has to be considered if you wish to do autosuggestion through subconsciousness. Subconsciousness is acting in the most effective and penetrating way during the night, when man is asleep, in the state of sleep. The activity of normal consciousness is suspended, subconsciousness working in its place. The most appropriate time for autosuggestion receptively, therefore, is the moment when the body is resting drowsily in bed, i.e., immediately before falling asleep, as well as immediately after waking up, when we remain still half awake. That does not mean that a different time would be quite unsuitable for self-suggestion, but these two moments are most promising, subconsciousness being most responsive then. This is why the magician will never go to sleep in an emotional attitude such as anger or depression or worrying. Worries which would have an unfavorable influence in his subconsciousness, going on in the same train of thoughts with which he had fallen asleep. Always go to sleep with peaceful and harmonious thoughts or ideas about success, health, and pleasant feelings. Always. There was a verse that I remember, never let the sun go down on your anger. Excuse me. Before you practice auto-suggestion, make up a small chain of 40 beads. A knotted piece, and by the way, I have mine, it's right over there. A knotted piece of string will also do fine. This expedient is only meant to avoid counting when you are reiterating the suggestive formula over and over, so as not to divert your attention. It's called mummery. This little gadget also will serve to make sure how many disturbances happen when you were practicing concentration and meditation exercise. All you have to do is move a bead or a no at every interruption. The practical use of autosuggestion is very simple. If you have worded that which you want to achieve in a precise sentence in the present and imperative form, such as I feel better and better every day, or I do not like smoking or drinking, etc., or I am healthy, content, happy, then you may proceed to the real practice. Immediately before falling asleep, take your strings of beads or knots and, whether in or undertone, softly or in your mind, according to your surroundings, repeat the phrase you have chosen and move one bead or knot at every repetition until you arrive at the end of the string. Now, you know for sure that you repeated the formula 40 times. The main point is that you imagine your wish as being realized already and having actually existence. If you do not yet feel sleepy after the 40 repetitions, engage yourself for a while longer with the idea that your wish has been accomplished and keep doing so until at last you fall asleep with your desire still in mind. You must try to transfer your desire to sleep. Should you fall asleep while reiterating the formula, the purpose will be achieved. In the morning, when you are not quite up and have some time to spare, you ought to reach for the string of beads and repeat the exercise once more. Some people get up several times during the night to urinate or for some other reason. If so, they can repeat this exercise at will, and they will retain the desires all the sooner. Editor's note: a more modern practice is to use a repeating tape cassette deck to accomplish this automatically. I'll tell you what I did, folks, seriously. I made recordings on the cassette tapes of my own voice. And whatever it was that I was wanting to project, I was hearing it in my voice. And it's really effective. Now, the question arises, what kind of wishes can be accomplished by self-suggestion? Principally, every wish can be fulfilled as far as mind and soul and body are concerned. For example, refining the character, repression of ugly qualities, weakness, disorders, recovery of health, removal and promotion of various aptitudes, development of faculties, and so on, certainly Desires have nothing to do with the personality, as lottery numbers and such can never be fulfilled. In other words, folks, if you want to go with random luck, go ahead and do that. That's why casinos and what have you. Here, we're not talking that. We're not talking luck. We're not talking chance. We're talking absolutes. And this is how it's done. We're going to end there. Well, we just won't get to Cornelius today. But for somebody, this is going to be life-changing. The whole program, I'm sitting back here and all going, okay, Source, I dig it, man. I mean, it flowed right through there. I didn't really plan on that flow, but it was seamless. So it was meant to be. And the ties of the nexus. Thank you, Al. But this will change your life. It will change your life in such a profound need that I believe that there is a state that a person can obtain where it's not required to have a bank account with lots of numbers in it. I contend that there is a presence that you can walk in this world where everything will be provided. Homes, cars, everything. The problem, it's a fine line, but it can be achieved. I know people have written me. In many ways, I can say that I've experienced that as well. And even in the most terse circumstances, the most horrendous storms of your life, you can find an enclave of sanctuary. And it's powerful. You don't even pay attention to the winds. You don't pay attention to anything that would alter what you already know to be true. That's when things happen. That's when miracles take place, and we'll get on that Monday. We didn't get to again, to our lesson, but we'll pick it up on Monday. It's still going to be there. So, all right, have yourself a strong end of this week. Enjoy your time off and make the most of it. Well, I think we're going to be Monday where Jeff and I were looking to do a live show, but it's awfully early in the morning. So we may not do one together, but he is here in Denver and we will be meeting up. So anyway, have yourself a great time. Love yourself. Love those around you. Remember, program yourself. You can do it. I just gave you the complete formula. And let the adventure begin. All right, folks. I will see you for sure on Monday. Be good to yourselves. All right. Bye-bye.